Here we. Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Store is a wonderful place. I like to hang out there and go through the nuts and bolts of life. Brings you Garage Logic podcast number 1238, Feb 2nd, 2024. Now, is today Groundhog Day?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Did we see the shadow of the...
Why wouldn't it be Feb?
Gopher?
Why is it Feb 2 and not Feb 1?
I wasn't in charge.
It's always Feb 2.
Fine. 48 degrees on this day in 1991.
Whoa.
I gotta go.
Wow.
And 32 below on this day in 1996. And I occasionally offer a note just to be mindful of winter. On this day,
February 2nd, Groundhog Day.
in 2016, we had 8 inches of snow.
Ah,
And
Wow.
there you go, Rook. You can play the sounder.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Sushiro.
I don't know if he does this every year, but Timbuktu is a listener who he likes to explore things and do the kinds of things that if I had a professional staff, they would do. Here are some notes about Groundhog Day. Apparently, Punxsutawney Phil came out today.
hey, at least we know the date of it, okay?
Yeah, we got the date down. Well, we get credit for that.
And we know that it was cloudy, so there's not early spring, right? Early
So
spring.
he did not see a shadow,
Correct.
which
Right.
means an early spring.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, spring's
Well-
here.
Do you know that the groundhog is a member of the squirrel family?
Yeah. We did know that.
It's also known as a woodchuck or a whistle pig.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did know that.
The
yeah.
name whistle pig comes from the groundhog's habit of making a high-pitched whistling sound as a warning to other groundhogs when they feel threatened.
Right before that 22 hollow point hits them in the chest.
Do you know that groundhogs are mostly solitary? They only emerge in midwinter to find a mate. In that respect, they are akin
Undefeated.
to many humans. The Groundhog Day film starring Bill Murray was not filmed in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, or even Gobbler's Knob.
Huh.
It was filmed in Woodstock, Illinois.
It
Did
was.
you know that?
I did not
Had
know
no
that. And
idea.
I love that movie.
This guy should do more tidbits and notes for different
Well,
things.
here's one for you, Kenny.
Dirt alert,
What's your
dirt
name,
alert,
Rookie?
dirt alert,
Yeah.
dirt alert.
Groundhogs are edible.
Yes.
The
Really?
Pennsylvania Game
Yes.
Commission says about 36,000 hunters reported killing more than 200,000 groundhogs last year. Game Commission spokesman Travis Lau found groundhog a bit stinky to clean with thick skin.
Yeah.
It was
Don't
actually
even touch
really
them.
good, no doubt about it. And to my taste, more like beef than venison is. Lau said the whole family ate it and liked it. And Kenny, what county are you in? I'm praying I get the right answer.
Douglas.
In Minnesota, most groundhog meat is consumed in Douglas County.
Here's news from the
where-
Krabby Coffee Shop.
Where it is considered a delicacy
Oh my
and
word.
often served at Super Bowl parties.
Oh God. I usually use a shovel and I throw it into the brush pile.
Well, there you are, Douglas County.
Although
That's
I
where
won't
we eat
even
our
touch it.
groundhog meat,
none of that answered your initial question.
which was,
Why is it the second?
oh, I don't know.
I have it here
Okay,
because I am doing work for the show.
right.
See?
You checked out about 4 years ago.
Pennsylvania Dutch were immigrants from German-speaking areas of Europe. The Germans had a tradition of marking, Candlemas, February 2nd, as Badger Day, on which if a badger emerging from its den encountered a sunny day, thereby casting a shadow, it heralded 4 more weeks of winter.
Honey badger don't give a damn.
That's right.
I love the name Whistle Pig.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Wasn't there a group called Whistle Pig?
It should be a band or a bar
I think there
or
was a band called Whistle Pig.
uh,
Maybe it's a song.
a town. Whistle Pig, Minnesota.
That's up in Douglas County.
Right there on the border of Otter Tail and Douglas.
Here's Kenny with news from the Krabby Coffee Shop.
So I shot myself a whistle pig yonder the other day.
Do you know
Mr.
that,
Souchere,
what?
there's a bluegrass band called the Whistle Pigs.
I told you. I know my music, obviously, more than you do.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, good one.
Say, a guy named
Okay,
John
Joe.
Gonzalez reports from St. Cloud that lilac trees are budding
You don't
in St.
tell
Cloud. Isn't that amazing? Well, you know what they are? Confused.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're going to get mosquitoes in about 10 days?
I don't know.
Hmm.
And Jenny writes, I agree with your comments. Why doesn't Ilhan Omar go back to Somalia to fight for their causes? The thing I would like to note is why do groups keep referring to themselves as Somalian American, Hmong American, Arab American, African American? And I can go on and on. Don't these titles just separate us more? Do they use titles thinking they may one day go back to the homeland? So do I refer to myself as a Polish, German, Irish American? I have a few question marks in my heritage. What would I use for that? Please note, my husband and I drive a 2022 F-350 diesel pickup and tow our 30-foot fifth wheel camper. My husband kept, what the hell is a 2002 F-250 diesel to haul his 1942 John Deere tractor to tractor pulls, and she signs off, which is why I read the email. Let the black smoke roll. All right. She's a GL.
Rolling coal.
All right, let's get down to the world ending. How can you have a world? How can you have a country when we're now noting that if Walgreens closes in a certain neighborhood that might be predominantly of color, but they're closing because of how stripped they're getting from theft, that Walgreens is racist?
Sure. Makes a lot of sense.
You have a member of the so-called squad in Washington, D.C., Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She condemns Walgreens. In fact, she condemned Walgreens on the U.S. House floor Tuesday for closing a pharmacy in Roxbury. That's in the Boston area. An act, Pressley said, will deepen racial, economic, and healthcare inequalities for marginalized groups. Well, then those marginalized groups should not be robbing Walgreens because then they can't make any money. Addressing the U.S. House Speaker, the state's Democratic representative for District 7, I mean that must mean that she's from Massachusetts, right? Said the pharmacy store chain is abandoning low-income communities in the district and leaving communities without access to medication and baby formula. The closures are not arbitrary and they're not innocent, Pressley said. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination. Theft is not.
No.
The Walgreens in Roxbury closed Wednesday. The decision to close the pharmacy, one of 18 across Boston, sparked a public outcry, who said the closing of the pharmacy would make it harder for people to get their stuff. Roxbury is a minority community with over 30% of residents identifying as Black. Walgreens has announced additional location closures in Hyde Park and Mattapan, both majority Black communities. The closure is part of a larger trend of abandoning low-income communities like the previous closures, both in the Massachusetts 7th District, Pressley said. When the closure was announced, Walgreens said patient files would be transferred to the nearest open location, but the nearest Walgreens is a mile away, complicating transportation for seniors, those with mobility restrictions, and those without access to cars. Shame on you, Walgreens. I think is Walgreen. Who owns that? Is that Walmart?
No, that's distinct from all.
Okay.
I'll look.
Shame on you, Walgreens, Pressley said in her speech. Having a website with talking points about health equity in underserved communities is not enough. Walgreens is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that needs to put their money where their mouth is and stop divesting from Black and brown communities.
Aren't they franchisees, though?
I have no idea.
It is formerly Walgreens Drug Company, trade name. It's a subsidiary of.
I don't care.
Okay.
If I've witnessed it.
Walgreens Boots Alliance is the parent company.
I've witnessed it in not a predominantly Black neighborhood. I've witnessed a theft in Walgreens by Black customers, but it's not in a predominantly Black neighborhood, which unfortunately is germane to the discussion because who is it that's been robbing the stores blind in Roxbury?
The residents.
You think it's a bunch of Swedish people?
No.
So what are they supposed to do? Well, I can tell you what they're supposed to do. According to the likes of Ayanna Pressley, they're supposed to stay open and just take it. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there's movements to change the criminal code. In fact, you could look that up. I think she or others are advocating it's not theft if you get less than $1,000 worth of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal.
Well, then what's the point of having the store?
And that's why what Kenny said yesterday is prevalent here, because in the likes of her mind, they should just sit and take it. But then, okay, so what's going to prevent, once this store closes, the next one's going to get hit. So then what are they supposed to do?
Well, I don't know, but I guess we're supposed to allow theft up to $1,000.
And it's because elected idiots like this have no answers. That's the problem.
Do you think, I have a question only because Walgreens is not blaming theft. Should the company blame theft if that's the reason? You know what I mean?
They use a word called shrinkage.
They're not using the word shrinkage. Trust me, I know what shrinkage is.
No, but
Hey,
that's
now.
true. But John, didn't we
So
have
do
this
I.
discussion a while back where there were some companies that didn't want to go down this road because they were
here's the
worried about
reasoning.
public backlash?
Here's what their statement said. Walgreens is citing changes in the market and buying habits of customers in Roxbury as factors in the decision. So that wouldn't include theft, but should they include theft? If
Well,
that
I
indeed
think
is the reason?
it is theft, and they're too woke to try to say it.
That was my question. Should they address that?
Of course they should. Of course they should.
But they're in a small way caving to public pressure in the likes of whatever her name is.
Rook, you have the audio from a Chicago alderman. You like the word alderman. You want to be an alderman.
I would love to be an alderman.
Chicago's 9th Ward Alderman Anthony Beal. Do you have audio of
Yes.
him? Let me set this up. He apparently is fed up with City Hall handing out freebies to illegals and says the large amount of welfare border crossers the large amount they are allotted is serving as an advertisement for even more to come here. During a recent address made on the floor of the Chicago City Council, Beal said that illegals are being paid more than $9,000 a month in free childcare, housing vouchers, food, clothing, education, legal help, and other services. Now, I've said this before, Beal said, if you give me 3 meals, housing, healthcare, education, a voucher for $9,000, you know what? I'd come to Chicago too. And that's what they're doing. They're telling people and they're sending money back to Chicago. I mean, back to Venezuela to come to Chicago because they're saying, hey, the good times are rolling here. They're taking care of everybody. Now, when we have Venezuelans driving cars, and where did they get the driver's license? Where do they get the insurance? And I got a note from Jordy that says American veterans don't even get they get about $3,000 a month. $3,700 a month.
Joke.
Beal has become a major opponent of Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's just a toady of the teachers' unions. Well, let's hear from Beal. Rook.
Now, I've said this before. If you give me 3 meals, housing, child care, education, a voucher for $9,000, you know what? I come to Chicago too.
Amen.
And that's what they're doing. They're telling people and they're sending money back to back to Venezuela to come to Chicago because they're saying, hey, the good times are rolling there. They're taking care of everybody. Now, when we have Venezuelans that are driving cars, where did they get a driver's license? Where did they get insurance from? And then you have Venezuelans being caught with drugs and guns. Where are they getting them from?
From people in Chicago.
I don't necessarily want to fight you or him on this, and I pretty much agree on what he's saying, but he makes it sound like they're getting checks written out to them for $9,000 every month, and it's not like that. I mean, he spelled it out.
They're getting $9,000 worth of goods.
Yeah,
Services.
and some of those services, I'm guessing they're not taking advantage of if they don't have kids or they don't need health care or whatever. But I agree with, his direction, but
So
it could be a little more clear. I mean, it's not like they're cashing $9,000 checks. And I would really like to get to the bottom of what the veterans own, because that little statement that Jordy included really lit a fire under me. That's apocryphal, if that's the case.
Well, maybe the theme of today's show is we just can't have a country like this.
And unfortunately, we do.
Yeah.
We're not headed that way. We're
It's
there.
falling apart.
Yeah.
You insist that it's already fallen apart.
Oh my God, Joe, we're fighting over who Tay wants to win the president. What are we doing?
Well, we're not. There are only the people whose genitals have been bequeathed to Trump are fighting about that.
Well, nothing's going to change until you get.
It's just none of this is worth. That's not. God, help us, please.
People
Please,
have
Lord.
forgotten to say who gives a bleep.
Yeah,
They've forgotten how to say it.
yeah.
Who gives a bleep? She's the high school sweetheart. He's the football lug, and they're happy apparently, and
Don't care who they vote for. Don't care how much money they have.
and now
Don't care about any of that. May God bless them.
After this gets put through the MAGA meat grinder, she's a secret double agent for the Pentagon who's going to destroy the Super Bowl. And then she's going to unleash 48 trillion votes for Biden. I don't understand where they come up with this.
And it
BS.
goes the same way. I mean, if this was Kid Rock and, I don't know, pick some right-wing Roseanne, hell, I don't know, pick somebody, it would be the same thing coming from the left. It's just our preoccupation here is ridiculous. None of this is worth talking about.
According to Jordy, and I don't know how he knows this, a 100% disabled vet with a spouse gets $3,946 a month.
God, that is not right.
And he was noting this in comparing $9,000 worth a month worth of freebies. You're hearing that from their own alderman in Chicago handed out to illegals. Well, I mean, these paradoxes are endless in this country. As I said before, you've got college people getting away with saying they don't understand how a loan works, but a 5-year-old knows perfectly well and understands everything about changing his or her gender. It's just we're in a bad way, and unfortunately, Garage Logic is not real. It's an imaginary place of solace and reason and rationality.
Do we vote early in GL?
We don't.
Okay,
We vote on election day.
I see.
And-
Joe, both of those analogies you mentioned, too, are the fault of their upbringing. 5-year-old wanting to change, a teenager or a college kid not knowing how to work alone. That's the fault of the parents. Adults.
I was given some stern financial lessons from my father back in the day when I tended to treat my fiduciary responsibilities, shall we say, too casually. So I heard about it.
Mine was, you should buy that snowmobile and worry about paying for it later.
Nah, I didn't hear that. I wanted to
Because
hear
that's
that.
a cool sled.
Did
You
part of
should definitely buy it.
Did part of the fiduciary responsibility given by your father was that selling the signs on the side of the car?
No, that was one of his scams that really didn't pan out. Just didn't pan out. I came back, the sign was missing. And the only thing we concluded was in the median on Highway 61.
Got it.
Because those magnetic signs blew off.
Didn't hold.
How did the young Joey Souchere, the preteen Joe, how did he make some spendable income to buy baseball cards and whatnot?
I had a variety of menial jobs.
These are like Angel Martin get rich quick schemes
No,
where
I
you
cut
build.
grass and worked at the grocery store and the whole deal. You know,
You work on the docks?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I flew cardboard.